start. I'll call the meeting to order. Review the agenda for addition or removal of items per 1 VSA 312E3A.
We have one here. And,
I do have one item to add,
Okay,
or to request to be added or propose to be added, and that is the Northeastern Police Benevolent Association ground rules for negotiation that have been provided, and it requires a representative of the town to sign it. A copy of the ground rules was provided. I think it's pretty standard format. I believe the first time around, Attorney John Klesch signed it. So whether you want to handle it now or put it under other business or add it to the police district meeting, that's up to you.
well, why don't we do it right now, since how we're waiting for Ian, and I can't believe that he's gonna have a problem with us adding it.
Okay.
And then the other thing would be to appoint one of the alternates to the development review board, since Paul Jackman has resigned. Do you want to just do both of them right now?
That's an option.
Works for me.
Sure.
You opposed to that, Joel?
What's that? I didn't hear.
Signing a designee to sign for the
Ground rules for the negotiation.
negotiation for the police
The
contract.
ground rules.
And then appointing somebody to take Paul Jackman's place. Okay.
Okay, get that news.
All right. So we will start with, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Val as the town designee to sign the ground rules for the any PBA negotiation.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Val, do we have the list of the
You alternate.
two alternates, their names somewhere?
Let me check the website.
Thought it might be in the book, but
It should be in here.
No, that probably, yeah, it should be right there.
Where are our committees?
nothing else.
Robert Rooker and Josh Crandall are the alternates.
Right. I don't care which one.
Which one of that, wasn't there one of them that wanted to be?
So Val, do you know when Paul's term expired?
Paul's term was set to expire in March 2023,
Is that a 3-year term or was it?
next year. It
That
doesn't
would have been a
say.
2-year. That would be a 2-year term, right? Because did we just appoint them
Thank you.
last fall?
I think so.
There he is.
Hello. Apologies for being late.
You guys, did anybody have a preference, whether it's Josh or?
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Josh, I believe he was more vocal about it at the time. I think when we interviewed him, so I think I'd be happy appointing him. I haven't spoken to Rob though about that, but I know
And
that he was vocal about it at the time.
Rob was also appointed to one of the other committees.
That's right. He is on the ARPA committee.
Correct.
Okay. So then let's
Yeah, I
appoint-
think
Well, then,
I'll make a motion to appoint Josh as the.
does that make then two, just clarification, that we have one from every board, right? So that makes two from the planning commission?
No,
No, we're talking about
this is to take Paul's place.
Paul's place on the.
I get that,
development review
people,
board.
I get that.
Paul's place on the
Okay, never mind,
design
never
review
mind.
board.
You don't want to hear what I have to say.
It's Development Review Board.
I know what it is.
Right,
Well,
not to be confused with the Design Review Committee.
I get that, but if he's on the ARPA, would that make two of them on ARPA? That's on the design review board? Do we have
No.
one on the design review board that's on ARPA?
Just one from the.
Planning commission or which board? I thought we asked one from every department or every.
Actually,
commission.
Robert's on the Planning Commission too. So he's spread around.
He's a stretch a little thin, maybe we ought to go.
Right?
No, is he still on the planning commission? I thought he.
No, he's not. He
That's what I
moved from the
thought. I thought he
planning,
got
he
done.
moved from the planning commission to
Commission
the
to
development review.
Development Review Board.
And if,
But
if
he-
Val's looking on the website, that might be wrong and I need to update that.
but Robert was appointed to the ARPA committee as a representative from the planning commission.
Okay.
That's right. Okay. Is he on, maybe he is on both then.
I think he's on both.
Okay.
It says, in the town report, it says he's on both. It says
Okay.
he expires in March on the planning commission,
Okay.
according to the town report.
So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
the
I-
representative.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right. But no,
So he's
Joel, to answer your question, there wouldn't be a duplicate because it was just planning commission, energy and conservation have representatives on the ARPA committee. The development
Okay.
review board doesn't have a representative. So there wouldn't be any overlap or doubling up of members.
That's what I was just trying to get at, was it doubling up?
So
No.
then I'll make a motion that we appoint Josh Crandall as a representative on the Development Review Board to finish out Paul Jackman's term, which expires in 2023.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
We gotta get on with the pretty stuff.
All right, so, overview of Zoom meeting operations, be recognized by a member of the select board. Before you speak, please. Public forum, opportunity for citizens not on the agenda to briefly share comments or concerns. Anything? That hand, where's your mouse? Is that hand?
That's just my mouse.
Okay. I'm easily confused. All right. Annual Police District Meeting, Public Informational Meeting.
Page 10 is the warning.
What page, Michelle?
Page 10 is the warning.
Page 43 is the budget. 43. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Where would you like to start?
Are there any particular documents that folks would like to have on the screen?
Well, we all have the budget in front of us, so if anybody else wants to see that, then that's gotta be up if they don't have the book. Or they don't have it available.
There is only one article for the police warning, and that is, will the voters of the town of Bristol Police District adopt the proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year budget in the amount of $504,579 with $405,062 to be raised by taxes through the tax rate set by the select board on the 2022 grand list of the property in the area included within the district sufficient to raise the $405,062. And then we have the budget. And Chief is here for any questions.
I can just remind or point out that the 405,062 is a decrease of 0.1% from last year.
Better policing, less money.
I guess, Bruce, I apologize, I didn't sign the warning, because I came in that day and I signed two things. Sharon says up there to sign both the police warning and the regular warning, and I missed this one. But I do have a question, because I didn't sit in on the budget, I was out that night. Peaker was trying to get here. Peaker's trying to, just read part of it. Peaker's trying to analyze how far an increase in taxes would occur. The grant pushes the tax increase out for years. And I was a little confused. I think somebody said here, Michelle said, instead of getting a 10% increase in year 5, maybe we have a 3% increase after each additional 2-year grant. Can I just explain that to me?
So there is money.
I don't disagree with it, but
No, there's money in the undesignated funds, I think is what it's referred to.
Undesignated fund balance.
So
that's what the police has.
the police district.
Okay, I was news to me. I didn't know we had. I know we have for the town, but I didn't know the district house.
And I don't have the exact number because the audit's not finished yet. But there were people that left, or employees that left. So there was salary budgeted for them that wasn't used. So my proposal would be to use that money that was budgeted for salaries that wasn't used in year 4, or 4, 5, and 6, depending upon what the amount is, to help offset the increase.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I was reading it in minutes today, and
We need to figure it out as a percentage so that we don't get hit with all of it at once, whatever year we decide to take it over. Whatever year we decide to put it totally in the budget. And there again, it's up to the voters to say we can spend that money for that, but it would be.
like I said, I apologize. I wasn't at that meeting that night, early January. And I read that. I said, I got to get that explained to me tonight. Thank you. All I have.
Any other questions on the? I can't see, yeah, we can't. We've got 12 people and I can only see.
That's all.
Maybe you can change the view. Do you want me to stop sharing?
She's working on seeing if we can get, no,
Yeah, but that's only gonna give you speaker view.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once this goes away, then you'll have a.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. We can also, if people had questions, they could put them in chat.
Yeah.
But I'll be monitoring the video.
Hi. Okay.
we might as well close the police district hearing and move on to a few of the other regular agenda items unless you think there's some here that we should wait.
No. The fire department flagpole request, the grant application authorizations, those would fit.
Yeah, those should both be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll skip to regular business 6, item number 1. Bristol Fire Department request for authorization to install a 3rd flagpole at the fire station.
Correct. The original agenda item title was incorrect, and it suggested that 3 new poles was being requested, but it's 1 to add to 2 existing poles.
I make the motion that we allow the Bristol Fire Department to put up the additional 3rd pole for their request.
Second.
All right, and I would note that this is being paid for by NH Munsell in a fund that monies that were donated in memory of the 3 Bouviers that were in the fire department that passed away. Eric, Hub,
And my dad,
Jim.
my dad, 91, Eric in 92, and Jeff in 2005.
Any further discussion?
I had another question.
Sure.
So looking at you talked about it's going to be in a triangular formation. So it's the tallest pole is going to be ahead, or will it be in line with all of them?
It'll be ahead of that one,
Okay.
ahead of the 2 in a triangle.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I think that sounds fine.
the American flag will be out front on the higher pole.
Okay.
Currently it's the American flag and the state flag.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
don't see
rendering, the rendering that was shared was produced in 2016. So, and that just as a concept, so it just showed all three American flags.
Yeah, and if you look at the town report, page 87, which is
Ah.
part of the planning commission report, there's a drone photograph, and so you can see which is fairly recent.
Wow.
You can see the two flags, and there's also, I was looking at the park today. The Veterans Memorial has the three flags. They're all in line, but I don't see an issue with it being ahead and forming a triangle. I don't think that would take away from the other two flags or the other two poles. So it seems fine to me.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Grant anticipation authorization request for Bristol Police Department to replace vehicle and officer radios.
So currently, we have 6 radios in our inventory that are utilized for the vehicle, and 1 is used for the station. So we're looking to replace 4, the ones in the vehicle and the one at the station. They are like the portables. They're older. We're having some issues with some of them. And so this grant is similar to the grant when we requested for the portables that, and I don't have all of the quotes yet. Josh is working on that, but it was kind of a short window of opportunity. So as soon as we get those, I can get some exact numbers, but we would not be purchasing anything above what we would be awarded. So besides the 4 radios, what we'd also like to put in for are what they're calling mobile traffic barriers that are a little bit sturdier than a barricade, that we could either use water or sand to put in them so they're not as easily moved in situations where we want a little more protection for traffic areas.
And that's a Homeland Security grant, zero matching.
Zero match. Yes.
I make a motion, we allow the police department to replace the radios in the office, vehicle and office radios.
Second.
Apply for.
Further discussion.
Just, these are compatible, because you said the newer ones, the portable, they're all
Yeah.
compatible.
Yep.
Okay.
I had a question, Bruce. When was the last time that those were replaced?
From the records we have, it looks like they were purchased in 2013, but that doesn't mean the technology was 2013. It could have been older technology at the time.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Okay, I do have a question. With his motion, is that going to prevent him from requesting the barriers too? Because you just said radios.
Well, I didn't see the radios, I didn't see the barriers on this
Barriers.
application, on the minutes.
But it
That's
would
all.
be for the 4 radios
It's just
in mobile traffic mobile barriers.
Okay, I can change that.
This is a grant authorization.
Grant authorization with no matching funds for replace the vehicle and office radios and traffic barriers.
Okay.
Whoever seconded that.
Clear as mud now, right? Don't.
Yeah.
You want to re-second that, Ian?
Yep. Second. That's fine.
All right. Further discussion. Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. How are we doing time wise? We got another 10 minutes. Grant anticipation authorization request for downtown transportation funds for Basin Street project.
So as I mentioned in my notes, we've applied for this before. It's $200,000. There's a $20,000% match. This is expected to be a multi-year project. We're also seeking other sources of funding through other grant programs. But we're also planning ahead through our capital planning process to allocate funds to the Capital Roads Fund to help with this. This application is due, I think, on March 7th or thereabouts, and a resolution is required authorizing or having the town agree to the 20% match.
Is this the same one you applied for last year, Val, or is this a different one?
It's the same thing. Last year it was a 50% match. This year it's a 20% match.
Do we know how close we were last year to getting it or not getting it? I mean, I know we didn't get it, but did you,
Right,
did you get feedback on that?
A little bit. So obviously, the feedback is always that there's more requests for funding than there is funding.
Yeah.
So that's always something. And readiness to proceed. That's not in our favor right now because it's still very conceptual. But the programs do provide for final engineering and all of that process to bring the project along. So and the total project cost, at least a couple of years ago, was projected to be $700,700.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure it hasn't gotten less.
What's the amount we're applying for with this grant, Valerie?
200,000.
With a 20% match.
Correct. And this, by the way, this would also be eligible for ARPA funding if folks
Yeah.
choose to do that.
And it seems like a very good fit for ARPA funding too.
Yes, we're talking ADA improvements, pedestrian improvements, public safety improvements. Basin Street is the only access to the septic field. And in the wintertime, it's extremely treacherous with that 20% slope. So there are a lot of public safety concerns, and this definitely relates to the designated downtown because the septic system serves the downtown businesses.
The ability to apply for more grants is going to be there as well.
Exactly. Stormwater improvements would be included as other options.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Val to apply for the Downtown Transportation Fund for the Basin Street project. And you'll have a resolution here, Val, or is?
It's not printed yet.
Okay.
So it'll be available for your signatures at the next meeting
Okay.
or otherwise.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to apply for the grant. Further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And then probably a motion for the resolution is in order as well.
That would be great.
We need a motion to execute the resolution, that the select board will execute the resolution? Is that what?
Just a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution template that Val's gonna put.
Second.
Prove something we haven't read yet.
It's the same as last year, correct?
Exactly,
It'll be
pretty
the
much the same.
same.
Yeah.
Reapprove the resolution from last year. How about
Yeah,
that?
sure, yeah.
Yeah, but we have to sign it new. so.
Right, yes.
There you go. That's my motion.
I seconded that.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can we do the next one in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. Item number 4, consider whether to hold remote-only meetings per S222, an act related to authorization temporary open meeting law procedures in response to COVID. Ian, you were the one that wanted this on there, correct?
Correct.
Spill it.
I just wanted to bring people's attention to it. But I feel that given the numbers that we're having in Vermont now and the sort of safety precautions that people are taking, I think a hybrid approach is still a good one. But I just wanted to know that, obviously some commissions or committees are meeting remote only and now are officially allowed to do that. But I do think if people want to have the hybrid approach, I think we should allow that. And I think for the select board too, if I am appointed again as a select board member, I will probably become the chair, but I would probably be doing it remote. And if that's okay with everyone, to be able to have the hybrid works for me. And I think that's what we should encourage other, or at least have the choice. Committees should have a choice for how they want to handle their meetings.
Is this also in relation to the town meeting too, Val? Like next week's meeting?
Well, the statute refers to public bodies, such as the Select Board and Conservation Commission, and Planning Commission.
So
Yeah,
next week-
this was a separate act to that one.
Right, that ordinarily would require physical meeting space.
Well, I was just trying to figure out next week, or, Peter just said he's gonna plan on being here. So that's why I didn't know if we were all gonna be remote next week or if we were gonna be doing the same as we have been.
Well, that's an interesting question because we've kind of advertised it as remote only,
Yeah.
that there would not be a physical meeting space.
Well, that doesn't mean we can't be here, but it
Right,
just means
right.
that there won't be open to the public.
Right.
Yeah, I strongly feel the option ought to be there to have public
Mhm.
present if they want to be present, so.
I mean, the only downfall to that for us, for this meeting is you don't know, if you do that, you don't know how many people are gonna be here.
Correct.
Correct. And
So,
we may have to move upstairs,
Right,
and we
if-
don't have a TV.
right, so.
Correct.
I don't figure there's gonna be that many people here. I was just figuring for convenience for us, because it's easier for me to be here than it is for me to do it from home with my technical abilities.
So given that, obviously I'm comfortable doing remote, but I wanted to ask you folks, since I will most likely be chair, is that an impedance to you if you're there and I'm chairing the meeting as opposed to all of us being remote?
No, because we can talk about you behind your back when we mute the microphone.
I was gonna say, we can shut you off anytime we want when we're here.
Well, okay then, that's great.
No, I haven't.
It worked all last year.
Yeah, it
so-
worked all last year, so I don't have a problem with the hybrid model, with having both possibilities. But I think there are certain people who, if they have an issue, would rather come here and have somebody here than to come over the
Yeah.
Zoom
Zoom
video.
meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And
maybe-
I'm sure there are still people who aren't comfortable with Zoom, so this gives us
Right.
the ability to do that.
Okay. Great.
So
So
we'll
if
leave it
next
as
week's-
is.
So if next week's meeting is going to be hybrid, were we talking about moving it upstairs in case more people?
I don't think we're gonna have that many people. I'm not concerned that,
I mean, the notices said Zoom only, so, we might be here. I don't know that there's gonna be that many people showing up, based on the notices anyway.
Yeah, and people know it's not town meeting evening. It's that it is an informational meeting. Obviously, last year we did hybrid only, and that was sort of the language we used because it actually was that we weren't able to offer an in person. But if we do have members there, I think the public are welcome. But I think most people, if they're reading Front Porch Forum and read the town report, know that it's an informational meeting as opposed to discussion and voting and things like that. So I'm sure the numbers will be lower.
I would like to see us leave this open in case there's a change in what's happening with the virus. That's the only thing I would add to it. That we
yeah,
can
well,
revisit it.
I believe it is open if we still allow for the hybrid portion of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if things go south, I'm sure we can revisit it. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, and it seems to be working for committees. There are some that do Zoom only, and others that are a mix. And I haven't heard any issues that people have had. I mean, the technology is always sort of like the tougher point, and I think we should work towards making it as easy as possible going forward. And maybe the ARPA funding can help with that, or even our technology fund if we need to get a more permanent computer that might be always ready for Zoom, as opposed to someone having to bring a laptop or connect.
So is there a
Alrighty.
consensus then of the select board to continue to allow the hybrid model?
Yeah.
To stay hybrid for the current,
Yep.
for,
So that was
Nothing
it.
changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, so we are gonna move on. Are we good with that? Everybody's good with that? All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna move on to annual town meeting, public informational. I will review the Zoom criteria for the people who weren't on before. And it's gonna change a little bit because our moderator is gonna be running the meeting. So I would ask that if you have a question, you be recognized by the moderator before you ask the question. And with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer.
Or wait,
Oh,
or they can put it in the chat. 'cause
Yeah.
Ian said he'll monitor the chat.
Yeah, I'll be looking at the chat. If people have questions, they can type it in there.
alrighty.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. This is Jennifer Wagner. Oh, good. I see waving hands. That means I am live and you can hear me. Excellent. I'll wave back to everybody. Thank you very much. I've been appointed as moderator this year, and so I'm officially opening this portion of the select board meeting tonight, the informational meeting. So welcome, everybody. So sorry not to see people in person. I really miss everyone and can't wait for this pandemic to be over. Sometime, someday. Meanwhile, you may recognize me. I've been playing trumpet on the bandstand for the last 20 years. I'm the one who always comes late. That's me. I'm an attorney at Marsh & Wagner and very happy to be here tonight. For those people who are just joining, and we may have some folks who are not familiar with the members of the select board and town officers, I'm going to have people on the select board and town officers introduce themselves just to say hi, to pull the screen to themselves so that people can see who's present tonight. And I'll start with the chair. So we have John Peeker Heffernan. John, say something and wave your hand.
Howdy.
Excellent. And while we still have the monitor on you, Michelle Purley, if you'll say something and wave your hand.
Good evening, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you. So Vice Chair Ian Albinson, could you say something and wave your hand?
Hello there. Good evening.
Perfect. Darla Senecal, I see you. Can you say something and wave your hand?
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
And Joel Bouvier, are you hiding there somewhere?
I'm here somewhere in front of you.
Hey, okay. Excellent. Thank you. I see our clerk, Sharon. Sharon, can you say something and wave your hand?
Hi, everyone.
Excellent. And Valerie, I see you. Can you wave your hand?
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. Great. So that should have brought everyone onto camera. Tonight is going to be an informational session, meaning we are here to hear community comments. You can share your perspectives with each other and to ask questions. There will be no amendments made to the warned articles. And when I say ask questions, what we're going to be discussing tonight are the articles that have been warned for vote on Tuesday, March 1st. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And tonight and next week, we're going to have this meeting where people can share their perspectives and ask questions. There'll be no amendments to the warning. There will be no debate. We're not trying to reach a consensus here tonight. And voting by absentee ballot has already begun. You can request from the Secretary of State office, though it's getting a little late to do that. You can stop by the town office to pick that up. And if anybody wants to jump in and say another way to get an absentee ballot, none. Okay. What I'm going to do is read each article out loud, and then I'm going to give an opportunity for questions and answers. A brief reminder of Zoom meeting rules. Maybe not everyone has participated in Zoom meetings. When you are not speaking, put your microphone on mute. Otherwise, it's going to pull the camera and the microphone to you, and we're going to hear what's going on in your house. So that's Zoom etiquette. If you are calling in tonight by telephone rather than using a video link, you can use *6 on your telephone in order to mute. Also, you can raise your hand in order to be recognized. And there's a way to do that on your computer by going to the bottom. If you're using a tablet, a phone, or a computer, there's a screen where you can get to a bunch of buttons, reactions. And if you tap the reaction, then the bottom button will be raise hand, and a little yellow hand will appear and stay raised until you lower it. That will give Ian, who's going to be monitoring the screens, a chance to see who's got a hand up. And if you want to take it down and not speak, take it down. Using the chat box, I don't want to have too many, I don't want to have conversations in the chat box because people who are calling in won't be participating in the conversations. Primarily, I'd like this to be an oral conversation where people are talking, asking questions. If you put something in the chat box, maybe it's just, hey, I've got a question. And then Ian can let me know and I'll recognize a speaker. If you're having technological difficulties, contact a teenager. Right? You could put a question in the chat box and someone here will be able to answer your question if it's simple. We are being recorded. Neat TV is here tonight. And if you want to, you can also, it'd be helpful for us if you enter your name on the screen. There are 3 dots in your own box where you see your image in the upper right-hand corner. If you hit on those 3 dots, there's an ability to rename yourself and it'll enter your name on the screen. Every view is important, and we want to hear them tonight. This is a safe place. Please address all your comments to me. This is not a place for uncivil discourse or personal attacks or talking about a neighbor. Everyone will be able to speak once, and after everyone has had an opportunity to speak, then I'll give people who still want to say something an opportunity to speak again. I'd like each person before they speak to state their first name and their last name and also their town of residence. We will, it's a select board, so it's open to anybody to participate or comment. Keep your comments short. We do have other things. The select board has other things on their agenda for tonight. And no question is a dumb question. If you think of it, someone else may have the same question. So please ask. I'm going to move on. Unless there's any questions right now, I'll begin reading the articles. Any questions before I begin reading articles?
Just a comment, Jennifer, that traditionally the moderator would read the article, then repeat it and go back and forth that way. I think in this case, that's not necessary, as you probably already concluded that.
Yeah, I agree. In a town meeting format, someone has to move the article. I read it, someone moves it, someone seconds it, and then I read it again and open the floor for debate. Because this is an informational session, I'm just going to read it once, so listen, or read along. You can find them, well, if you haven't picked up your paper version already, they are available on the town website as a PDF. Alrighty, the legal voters of the town of Bristol are hereby warned and notified to meet at Holly Hall in the said Bristol on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, between the hours of 7 a.m., at which time the polls will open, and 7 p.m., at which time the polls will close, to vote by Australian ballot on the following articles of business. Article 1, to elect by Australian ballot the following town officers as required by law: 1 select board member for a 3-year term, 1 select board member for a 2-year term, 2 library trustees for a 3-year term, 1 school board member for a 2-year term, and 1 school board member for a 3-year term for the Mount Abraham Unified School District. 1 moderator, for a 1-year term, 1 first constable for a 1-year term, 1 second constable for a 1-year term, and 1 lister for a 2-year term, and finally 1 lister for a 3-year term. Any discussion or questions on that article? Not hearing any, we'll move on. And unlike a town meeting where if the discussion is moved on to the next article, you can't speak to a prior article, here because of muting and such technology, if we've moved on and you wanted to say something about a previously read article, just chime in. We can go back.
I do just want to add that the ballot includes the names of the candidates for those positions.
Great. Does the handout also include the names of the candidates? I think it does. Article 2. Will the voters of the town of Bristol vote that all real property taxes payable in installments shall bear interest at a rate of 0.75% per month or fraction thereof for the first 3 months, and thereafter 1.25% per month or fraction thereof from the due date of each installment, with the payment of the real property taxes and the interest to the town treasurer for the town's fiscal year period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, real property taxes being due in 2 equal installments on November 15th, 2022 and April 15th, 2023 by physical delivery to the town office before midnight on that date. Any discussions, questions, or comments?
Probably should note that this is a change from previous years. They were previously due on the 5th of each of those months. So now they're due on the 15th.
This year they're doing the 15th too.
Great, and it looks like Ian has put a link to the town meeting materials, the annual report, such in the chat. So a quick, easy way to get to it. Anything else on Article 2? All right, hearing none, I'm going to move on to Article 3. Will the town limit the amount of the penalty charged by the collector of delinquent taxes for payments made after the due date for payment to 4% of the tax collected pursuant to 32 Vermont statutes annotated, Section 1674, subsection 3, subsection A? No comments, no questions? I'll move on. Article 4, will the voters set the salaries that shall be paid to the members of the Select Board at the same as fiscal year 2021, being $500 plus 15 per meeting and $25 per meeting for the chair? Comments, questions? Hearing none, I will move on to Article 5. Will the voters adopt the proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year Public Works/Highway operating budget in the amount of $830,770, with $728,798 to be raised by taxes through a tax rate set by the Select Board on the 2022 grand list sufficient to raise the $728,798. Comments or questions?
Ian, can you point to where the that area of the budget is in the town report? What page?
Sure, 1 second.
Yeah, you seem to have it handy. And let me know if anybody wants anything shared on the screen.
It's 26, I think it is.
Yep, 26.
I'll give folks a moment to look through that budget. I see some folks still looking down, presumably at the budget, not at the book they're reading. I'd want to give everyone an opportunity. Does anyone have questions about that? I'll move on, but we can always come back to that should you have a question. Article 6, will the voters adopt the proposed 22 to 2023 fiscal year Arts, Parks, and Recreation Department budget in the amount of $320,546, with $221,246 to be raised by taxes through a tax rate set by the Select Board on the 2022 grand list, sufficient to raise the $221,246. Comments or questions? And what page is that vote on, Ian?
28.
Okay.
Thank you for putting that in the comments. All right, I'm going to move on. We can always come back to that if you have a question. Article 7, will the voters adopt the proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year general fund operating budget in the amount of $957,425, subject to modification by actions on the previous articles, with $765,641 to be raised by taxes through a tax rate set by the Select Board on the 2022 grant list, sufficient to raise $765,641. And I believe that should have been grand list, not grant list.
Good catch. But, and also another thing, in prior years, this was the last article. And so all the prior capital appropriations and the civic appropriations preceded this article. And so that's why it's referring to the previous articles.
Yeah.
So we didn't quite catch that because the decision was made a few years ago to put this article higher up on the warning so that at the floor meeting, there were enough people still there to have a conversation about it.
Hearing no questions, I'll move on to Article 8. Will the voters authorize the transfer of $30,000 of the June 30th, 2021 general fund undesignated fund balance to the Capitol Building Fund? Comments or questions? Article 9. Will the voters authorize the transfer of $52,500 of the June 30th, 2021 general fund undesignated fund balance to the Capitol Road Fund? Questions or comments? Article 10. Will the voters authorize the transfer of $25,000 of the June 30th, 2021 general fund undesignated fund balance to the Capital Paving Fund? There's a pothole outside of town I'd like to allocate that to.
Put it on the list.
Article 11, will the voters authorize the transfer of $20,000 from the June 30th, 2021 general fund undesignated fund balance to the reappraisal reserve fund? Questions about that or comments? Article 12, will the voters authorize the transfer of let's try again. Will the voters authorize the transfer of $22,500 from the June 30th, 2021 general fund undesignated fund balance to the Fire Department Apparatus Reserve Fund? Questions or comments? All right, Article 13. Will the voters appropriate the following sums to be placed in various town reserve accounts as noted? I'm going to read the amount first, followed by the name of the fund. $30,000 to the Capital Building Fund, $25,000 to the Capital Fire Equipment Fund, $100,000 to the Capital Fire Vehicle Fund, $135,000 to the Capital Highway Equipment Fund, $40,000 to the Capital Road Fund Construction, $40,000 to the Capital Sidewalk Fund.
No, the paving. Yeah, right below construction, paving.
Yeah, it's after that in the town report. She's all right.
No?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she did jump over it.
What did I jump over?
Capital Road Fund paving.
Oh, dear and dear to my heart, that pothole. All right. Capital Road Fund paving, $135,000. I'm going to go back to listing the dollars and then the fund. $40,000 to the Capital Sidewalk Fund, $10,000 for the Conservation Fund, $15,000 for the Reappraisal Fund, $7,000 for the Technology Fund, for a total of appropriations of $537,000. Any questions or discussion on that list I read?
I just want to add that this combination of allocations to these capital funds demonstrates the select board's commitment to maintaining its public buildings and keeping up with the road projects. We've identified some major road projects that we need to plan for, and through our capital planning process, we're able to project what our needs are going forward, and these allocations help us build up the resources that we'll need so that the town can avoid borrowing, and meanwhile, these allocations earn interest.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And folks that are interested, on page 40 of the town report, we have the Capital Reserve Fund funds report that details the amount of money that is currently in those accounts or in those funds.
Next, I'm going to read Article 14, which I want to acknowledge there are some tensions in town about this next article, and each side will have its own opinions and comments, and now is a time if people want to speak and have themselves heard by others who are present at this meeting, they certainly can. If we have a lot of people who do want to speak, I'll take one person from each side, one in support of the article and one against the article. If anyone from another town is here and wants to speak, I'm going to ask people who live in Bristol to speak first, since this is our vote. But the other people from other towns, Lincoln most likely, would have something to say, and they may. There'll be no debate here. We're not able to make amendments or modifications or remove the article from the warning. That said, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Article 14. Shall the voters of the town of Bristol ratify the town of Lincoln's vote of August 24th, 2021 to withdraw the town of Lincoln from the Mount Abraham Unified School District, MAUSD. Anybody who wishes to add more information, comment, or has questions? I see a hand, Paul for Lindsay. Go ahead and speak.
Thank you. I'm from Lincoln, and if it's appropriate, I'll just talk to this article for a few minutes. I'm from Lincoln. I'm on the Lincoln Selectboard. I'm the Select Board liaison to the Save Community Schools group, which has been active to save Lincoln School, which at one point was going to be closed. So we're in the second step. Your vote is the second step of about a 10-step process. And the first step was Lincoln voting, and we voted last August. Pretty overwhelming yes vote. It was 3-1. I can't tell you that how many towns, how many school districts Act 46 is working in, because there have been no studies and no analysis. And it's unfortunate that the legislation that created Act 46 didn't require that. I can tell you that in small towns with small schools like Lincoln, this does not seem to be working. We have not seen the goals achieved that Act 46 talked about. You know, no reduction in taxes, not a significant savings, not a significant improvement in education. We continue in Lincoln to lose resources. So for instance, our principal was reduced from a 1 FTE to a 0.9 FTE. I just can't imagine that she's going to work any less hours than that. So we're hoping for a yes vote from the 4 towns. Your town is one of them. And we're hoping that we can continue to preserve and improve the Lincoln Elementary School. We see it as being tightly knitted into the community. And we think it's a real plus for it to continue to be. And there are plenty of studies that show that keeping a school open in a small town has a lot of benefits. So I'll just stop there. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 14?
Ian does.
Ian, I might as well make you do the same thing. State your name for the record and town of residence.
Ian Albinson, town of Bristol. Paul, you mentioned at the beginning, you said that Lincoln School was going to be closed. Technically, that's not true. Wasn't it the superintendent made a proposal to the board and the board hasn't made a decision yet? So I know that the proposal was very controversial, but technically there was no stated decision to close that school.
Technically, you are correct. The superintendent proposed to repurpose Lincoln and 2 other elementary schools. There was not much definition of what repurposing meant. We had a legal opinion on that. And basically, if you take the kids out of one school, one town, and take them to another town, that's closing. That decision, you're right, has not been made. Our problem is we're running up against sort of bookends, which is that there is new legislation coming down the pike. If it's passed, it gets effective July 1. It will make it significantly more difficult for us to go through this process. And the second is the merger committee plans to present plans, their decision as to whether to suggest a merger or not, probably late in the summer, early fall, so they can have a November vote. We have not been able to convince the merger committee that they ought to include the article that's in MAUSD's agreement, consolidation agreement, that town should have a vote. So that might totally disappear.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, not hearing anyone, I'm going to move on to Article 15, another article in which I want to acknowledge that there may be some tensions within town and different opinions, and people in the surrounding communities also may have some differing opinions. This is a safe space. Everyone's opinion can be heard. Address your comments to the moderator, please, not to each other. And again, because this is a select board meeting, people who live outside the town of Bristol can be heard, but I do wish I'm going to call on people who live in Bristol first. And when you speak, give your first name, last name, and town of residence. Article 15. Shall the town of Bristol permit the operation of licensed cannabis retailers subject to such municipal ordinance and regulation as the select board may lawfully adopt and implement pursuant to 7 Vermont statutes, annotated section 863. Any comments or questions for the select board? Open the floor.
There's a comment in the chat
Yeah.
from Clove Habiba.
I can actually open the chat. Clove Aviva, I've moved to Bristol in the fall. I have asked for and not heard of any negatives on allowing cannabis in Bristol. Is there a negative position? Does anybody wish to address that? I will point out to Clove that the Democratic Committee held a purely informational meeting on the topic a few weeks ago. That is available for viewing on Neat TV. If you want to go back, you may be able to hear some different perspectives that might answer your question.
She says she attended.
Oh, good.
Jennifer Peaker Heffernan, I would like to ask our police chief what his thoughts and concerns are with this.
Chief Nason, are you still present in the room?
Yes, I am. He's gonna move forward so that we can. It'll turn as soon as he talks.
All right, to make it easy for Sharon to take the minutes and for our record, if you can state your first and last name and town of residence, Chief Nason.
Bruce Nason, town of Bristol.
Great, go ahead.
Everything that I've read and received so far, I have no concerns. There are guidelines and statute will dictate how we do things moving forward if the vote passes.
Now, this right now is new to the whole state of Vermont, not just our county or Chittenden County. This is
Yes,
for the whole
that's
state.
correct. Yes.
I just didn't want to let this go forward without getting your perspective on it, all, and having the people know how you felt about it.
I recognize Jim, and I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Coglino. Please correct me, state your first and last name and town of residence, and go ahead and speak, Jim.
Jim Quaglino, Bristol resident. My only concern with this is just a statement. Having been in law enforcement 25 years plus as a narcotics officer, I just wonder what kind of message we're going to send to the youth of our community, allowing marijuana to be sold in our town, which is a nice, wholesome family town, and it is against federal law. And at any given time, the DEA could possibly change their attitude on this whole situation and declare it illegal, and it would cause a big mess. I'm just saying to the voters, think before you act on this one, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else like to be heard?
Yes, I do have a question, Jennifer. Just thought of it.
What's your name?
Joel Bouvier, Bristol. Chief, or to anyone out there, actually, the question is, do we know of any town who's passed this and maybe not got a federal grant from federal government because it said you are now selling marijuana legally? If it's, I agree with what Jimmy said, it is still not recognized by the federal government. So
Doesn't Burlington have a shop that sells? I think there's a shop in downtown Burlington.
I just wonder if that would affect us for federal grants for police or any other federal grant. Could they tie it in? I don't know that question. I just thought I'd ask.
I would hope not, since the town of Bristol is not doing the actual selling.
Right.
Right.
Any other thoughts or questions or comments? Okay, not hearing any, I'll move on to Article 16.
Thank you.
The voters approve. Okay, who's making noise? Michelle?
No, I'm not making noise.
You can mute when you're not speaking. That would be great if you have the ability. Will the voters approve an appropriation of $153,899.80 for the Lawrence Memorial Library for its annual operating budget, said sum to be raised by taxes? Questions or comments?
There is a question in the chat.
I'll read it out loud. From Sally Roth for the minutes. Resident of Bristol, I know that. I thought that Virgins and Salisbury are allowing sale of cannabis. I hope I remember correctly. Does that raise anything anybody wants to say back on the question of Article 15 and the sale of cannabis in town?
They may have voted to authorize it, but no community is currently able to actually sell it until the state has finished its rulemaking and its certification process.
Thank you, Valerie.
There's also a comment above that for Article 16 from Clove.
Oh, thank you. I'll read that one as well. Sharon for the minutes. This is also from Clove Haviva. And she says she's a Bristol resident, Article 16. The library is amazing, but given the building is paid for, why is the amount so high? And I'll remind people that that was an appropriation of $153,899.80 for the library. Would someone like to address Clove's question?
I believe it has to do with their operating budget. And there may, Ian, correct me, is there a copy of their proposed budget in the town report?
Yes.
That backs
it's in the
up
town
that
report.
number? So it's basically their daily operations.
Yeah.
Running the building, operating the building, paying the staff,
Page 101.
utilities, that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
page 102 has the budget breakdown. So it has the revenue and the expenses breakdown, and you can see that salaries are a large part of that, and then it breaks down every other part of their budget.
The comments read Clove Aviva to everyone. Thanks, had not gotten that far yet in reading the town report, I assume. If Ms. Aviva has another further comment, then certainly you can bring that up after you've taken a look at the library budget if you have more questions before we wrap up tonight's informational session. Or come back next week, same time, same place, and you can ask then and we'll answer. Moving on. Article 17. Will the voters appropriate $29,000 for the Bristol Cemetery Association Incorporated in accordance with 24 Vermont Statutes Annotated Section 2691 for the purpose of maintaining Greenwood Cemetery, parenthesis, mowing and trimming, in a well-kept manner? Any discussion or questions on that? Okay, moving on. Article 18. Will the voters appropriate $10,000 to Bristol Core, Bristol's nonprofit downtown organization committed to increasing and maintaining the economic vitality of the downtown area? Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. What I propose to do, if no one objects, is take Articles 19 through 45, and rather than read them in full, I'm going to state the amount and the nonprofit that it's for. So we've gotten to the section in the articles where various social service agencies who provide services that members of the town of Bristol benefit from ask Bristol to help support those services. Generally, when we get to this point in the town meeting, we will just read them as a whole and then we'll vote on them as a whole. But if I were to read each one, I'd say the name of the organization and what they do. If you want to know what they do, you can look back to the report or ask a question and we can then elaborate then. So any objections? Hearing none, I'm going to proceed in that fashion. Article 19, I'm going to read this one in full. Will the voters appropriate $4,000 to the Bristol Family Center to provide childcare and early education programs serving many area working families and their children? Article 20, will the voters appropriate $6,000 to the Bristol 4th of July Committee? Article 21.
Did we catch Article 18 or did I miss it?
No, we did catch Article 18. That was Bristol's core, and I did read that one.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Having just said $6,000 to the Bristol 4th of July Committee, will the voters appropriate $2,500 to the Bristol Historical Society? $2,000 to Bristol Little League. $15,000 to the Bristol Recreation Club. $13,500 to Bristol Rescue Squad. $1,200 to the Bristol Town Band. $3,500 to NEAT, Northeast Addison Television, who's recording this meeting tonight. $750 to Addison Allies Network Incorporated. $4,700 to Addison County Home Health and Hospice. $4,800 to Addison County Parent Child Center. $2,000 to Addison County Readers. $1,150 to Addison County Restorative Justice. $300 to Addison County River Watch. $2,700 to Age Well. $3,875 to the Counseling Service of Addison County. $2,200 to Elderly Services to sponsor Project Independence Adult Day Health Center, Daybreak Alzheimer's Care Program, Family Caregiver Support Group, and the Aging Education Center. $1,500 to Habitat for Humanity Addison County. $1,000 to Homeward Bound, which is the Addison County Humane Society. $3,250 to Hope, which represents helping overcome poverty's effects, HOPE. $1,400 to the John W. Graham Housing and Services. $1,000 to Open Door Clinic. $750 to RSVP and Green Mountain Foster Grandparent Program. $11,306 to the Tri-Valley Transit, which was formerly the Addison County Transit Resources. $3,000 to Turning Point Center of Addison County. $1,650 to Vermont Adult Learning. And finally, $3,500 to Women's Safe. Is there anybody who wants to speak to any of those organizations or comment or have questions? And if you are speaking for an organization, state your first name, last name, town of residence, and which organization you're speaking on behalf of. All right, I see a hand. And Jim, go ahead and speak. First name, last name, residence.
Jim Guglielmo, Bristol, Article 27. Could somebody explain to me what this article is for concerning migrant farm workers?
Yes, I can.
And who's speaking?
John Elder. I have my hand up. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you fine. John Elder, say what town you're a resident of.
Okay, I'm a resident of Bristol,
And are you?
I'm speaking about the Addison Allies, which is a support group and assistance group for migrant farm workers residing in Addison County. I thought it was good to say a word about it because it's one of the newer organizations, a newer request. It was founded in 2017, and it's almost entirely a volunteer-driven organization. I'm one of their volunteers. I teach English to a couple of different families. There's one part-time administrator, but it's almost all volunteer. And the main facts here are that there are about, it fluctuates, but between 350 and 650 migrant farm workers in Addison County. The very first farm where the volunteers went was actually the Four Hills Farm in Bristol, giving language lessons to people there. This group does a lot of things in addition to teaching English. They provide rides to medical and dental appointments. They help with people who are seeking asylum. They support migrant workers, most recently in accessing the funds that were awarded by the Government Relief Fund that was offered by the state of Vermont, and there was the need for volunteer help to help them access that. And I guess the main thing I'd say about this is that it's a very lean organization, taking food, furnishings, and helping with medical and other crises for families who don't have much, and without whom many of the farms in our county, and over a quarter of the farms in Vermont or in our county, would not be able to work very well. So it's both a humanitarian outreach and also a strong support for Vermont agriculture. So we're asking for $750 The reason that the organization asked for some funding from different towns this year is that the pandemic has really hit the volunteer base. Our volunteers tend to be like me, a little long in the tooth, and so many of them are vulnerable, and so doing everything to get rides and to take people around is just a little more complicated than it used to be. I guess that covers it.
Thank you, John. You can take your hand down now. Anybody else have a comment or question about anything in the appropriations that are being requested by various social service agencies around the county?
Incidentally, I had asked Owen in the chat to tell us what his name is, and so that explanation was very helpful, and that answered the question.
Oh, very good. You meant the name of the last speaker, John Elder?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, very good. Anytime you need a name for the minutes, just speak right up and we'll make sure that we get the minutes complete. All right, not hearing any other questions or comments on the last articles I read. That was all of the articles for this year. And does anyone have comments or questions on anything in the town report before we conclude the meeting?
Jennifer, I do.
Okay.
Joel Bouvier, Town of Bristol. I'd like everyone to turn to page 1 and see that we've dedicated to our town report to our longtime moderator and a select board member and a state representative, Fred Basiers. Well-deserved, Fred.
Absolutely. Many thanks, many years of service. Incredible. The Addison Independent said 3 decades of service.
Has Fred gotten any of this?
Yay. And there is on the screen share a picture of Fred. It's probably somewhere on a beach right now.
I'm sure. Well, he's certainly in warmer weather.
I did email it to him, but I haven't received any response back.
Okay. Great.
So that's on page 1.
Any other comments or questions about anything in the town report before we close?
Just one more, Jennifer. Article 23, Joel Bouvier, Bristol.
Yep.
I just like it on Article 23, recognize the Bristol Recreation Club for 100 years old this year. 100 years they started years ago. So after the boys got home from the war and things, so just yay.
Are they planning any kind of celebration this year?
They are some murals and other things, yes. I don't know all the details, but yes, they are.
I'd like to know what they did in year 1 for recreation for the town.
Probably baseball.
Played baseball.
Yeah, baseball was big, and that a lot of the returning soldiers wanted to play, and that's
a little history. My dad, who was in the World War II and a prisoner of war, came back and he said they all met over there with their sickle bars and things and said we needed to mow the grass, and it was waist high, and they started on West Street and they ended at the no sidewalk then at Mount A, going to Mount A. But I don't know how they got everybody over there because they didn't have Twitter or email or Snapchat or any of that stuff. Probably just word of mouth on a horse going around town. Hey, spread the word.
They had the general store where everybody went to pick up their supplies.
Yep.
That explains lots of great photographs in the Historical Society of the old Bristol baseball teams and their jerseys, and
yeah,
explains it. Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and announce this portion of the select board meeting closed. The informational meeting is now closed. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today. The meeting is being recorded by Neat TV, so you can review it there. There will be minutes posted on the Town of Bristol's website. And to anybody who wants to stay around, the select board is having a regular meeting now, and they'll continue on with their meeting. But if you're going to say farewell and log off, like me, just farewell and thank you for being here.
One final word that this meeting is, there's going to be another one next Monday. Same time, same place, same channel.
Excellent. We welcome questions about the library budget.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you,
You're
Jennifer.
welcome.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Night.
Alrighty, back to the regular agenda. We are on item 5, Department Head Roundtable. Bruce? Nothing new. Sharon?
She left and didn't-
Yeah, I thought maybe she left.
No, I'm still here. No, getting lots of requests for absentee ballots. Election is
And-
next Tuesday, so I need
Sharon, when's the
workers
last day
if
they can
anybody's
request?
willing. What was that?
When's the last day they can request?
They can come in the day before and get them. Technically, if they request them within 5 days, I don't have to mail them, but the post
They
office.
won't make it there.
Yeah, well, the post office seems to be leaving them here and putting them in their mailboxes because people are getting them the next day. So, and then they're dropping them in the drop box.
Good.
No, don't guarantee that.
And Sharon, can you repeat where the town reports are available for people to pick up?
They're available here. We have some at the post office. There's some outside in the silver box for people to pick up.
Are they at the library as well?
I believe Gail took some down when she took my ballots down to post.
Okay.
So yes, I believe so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Sharon? All right, assuming the town of Bristol, is that you, Brett?
Yes, it is. That is me. Sorry, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. I have one thing. I'm just bringing it up. I apologize. We had an incident today, and I'm at the fire station doing our laundry. There we go. So I have an update for the select board regarding the town's new fire pumper that was ordered last year, which the town made a down payment on. So the following report is from Deputy Chief Eric Foran, who has been and continues to lead the working group, who designed this new truck. And I would just like to preface this conversation by, it's not a surprise that there is a delay in the estimated delivery of this new vehicle, but here is the official report from Deputy Chief Foran. Dear Select Board, the Apparatus Replacement Working Group would like to take this opportunity to provide an update on the status of the replacement frontline pumper that was ordered last year from HME. Unfortunately, we received the disappointing but expected news that the pumper will be delayed 6 months and its new arrival date is scheduled for September 13th of this year, 2022. This 6-month delay was anticipated based on ongoing discussions we have been having with the manufacturer and is the result of the global supply chain issues that most American manufacturers are currently experiencing. HME is working to resolve their supply chain issues as rapidly as they can, and they will be sending the Apparatus Working Group monthly updates from this point forward on the status of the pumper, which I will share with you. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions. On behalf of the Apparatus Replacement Working Group, Deputy Chief Eric Foran. That is the only update I have for you folks tonight, and certainly would take any questions if you had them.
No, but I can bet you guys are all disappointed.
Yeah, we certainly, Michelle, we are, but from day one, I mean, even pre-pandemic, I have never been around to see any new fire truck be delivered on time. So definitely not a surprise. Disappointing, but I do want to credit the organization, how they have kind of overcome and changed how we operate because it's a big void not having that particular vehicle here. And but the guys and girls have done a great job just to kind of adapt and utilize our equipment in ways that we typically don't utilize it. So, but yeah, and we had if anybody has been reading the news, there was a very large incident in Salisbury today. I think that's the furthest I've ever traveled for a fire. But just to give you an idea of the scope of the incident and the personnel that was required to help mitigate. So, and I understand it's a somewhat of a historical log home structure on Lake Dunmore. So, but they are still there. Bristol, one crew returned and we sent another crew down. So we still have our people there working.
Question for you, Brett. Is there,
Yes, sir.
Given that it's 6 months, how much of that is guaranteed? Could it be pushed another 6 months? Not that I want to throw any more disappointment onto this, but are you prepared to have it go even longer than that?
I mean, could it? Could it? Certainly it could, Ian. It's certainly worth, I know Eric has already, we can certainly look at the fine print in the contract, that speaks to, things like this, the pandemic, I understand, it falls into that category of, just things you can't account for, such as the global supply chain issues that, this isn't affecting just the Bristol Fire Department. It's affecting any fire department in the state of Vermont that's ordered a new vehicle and any department in the country. If anybody on this call has tried to order a new personal vehicle in the last couple of years, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just very difficult to get anything today. So Ian, I guess to answer your question, I'm optimistic that they will meet that September, the new deadline. But certainly I think with holding them to these monthly updates, which will include, because we requested them, pictures of progress and reports, that will help keep them accountable. But we'll certainly do our part to keep the select board informed on this purchase.
Right, and that'll allow you to adapt if you need to, if it does go longer than you expected.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're good at overcoming stuff in the fire service.
Okay, great. Thanks.
He's already adapted. Nothing will change. It'll just be status quo until it shows up.
Right. Yeah, that's
right.
He's
That's right.
already made the changes to deal without it.
Okay.
Any other questions for Brett?
No, I was just going to throw out there, it's not just vehicles either. We've been waiting since the end of October for a new copier, and it hasn't arrived yet. It's still somewhere. So
On a boat.
on a boat somewhere.
Right.
Slow boat from China.
I have an update from Eric in his absence. Hopefully I can read my scribbles. That some minor repairs are being done to some of the trucks after recent storms. The new truck is expected to be built during the week of April 4th. Mike is planning to go out tomorrow with the grader to push back ditches and open up the shoulders of the roads in anticipation of the storm, the rain and ice and other storm that's expected Tuesday. And they're expecting to have a long, late Tuesday night dealing with the weather conditions. So that's Eric's report.
I'd like to add my thanks to the Public Works Department crew. Resident called this morning, was concerned about the ice on Main Street. I spoke to Eric about it, and he said that someone would be out early tomorrow morning in terms of sidewalks. But I walked around today since the weather was a little bit nicer, and there was a crew member out there plowing the sidewalks and sanding them. And
that was Josh.
Yeah. So that was great. I really appreciate them doing that even earlier than what they stated, and on a day off too. So thank you very much.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Josh was out in the downtown and observed that the sidewalks are icy, and he actually saw somebody slip a bit on the ice, and he called Eric and mentioned that he was there and offered to do it. And Eric said, have at it. And so that was done.
Eric didn't call anybody in today. He went around and brushed all the roads back himself too. And I think that's an issue that we need to, he needs to designate his help to do some of that work. He shouldn't be doing it all.
Well, he did it on Mountain Road last night.
Yeah.
Yesterday afternoon, up by your place.
Yeah, he called me and wanted to know if it needed it.
Oh, it did.
It did, yes.
I got a call on it too. I'll check it.
Duly
Anything
noted.
else? All right, we will move on then. We are now, you weren't on earlier, Brett. We authorized your flagpole, so you're all set there.
Sorry, I had to get to my mute button. So you already took care of that agenda item?
Yeah, we took care of that in between the police hearing and the hearing. We had some time to kill, so we took care of everything down to item 4 on the agenda. On
Okay,
the regular
great.
business agenda. So you're all set there.
Wonderful. Thanks for the update.
American Rescue Plan Act, funding update.
Yep, as I mentioned in my notes, the VLCT did finally come out with their analysis of the U.S. Treasury's final guidance, and the gist of it is still wait, be patient and be decisive, but there's no specific. I mean, it's very broad, to put it mildly. So the new ARPA funding guidance or advisory committee will be meeting March 7th, and that meeting will be largely organizational and just to get oriented and plan the next steps and to review and become familiar with what the VLCT provided in their analysis, and then go from there. So after March 7th, did I say May 7th? But after March 7th, I expect we'll have more information.
And Val, you posted a good guide. It's posted on the website. It's sort of the expenditure categories.
Right,
Sort
the
of
two-page appendix.
Yeah, that helps. I mean, we had our 4 categories, and we had a little bit of breakdown, but this breaks it down even further, which is kind of nice. So we can start to see how we might sort of plug in some of the ideas that the select board has had, as well as residents can look at this as well and start to see where their suggestions might fit in. And obviously, that committee will start to look and look to that document as well.
Right. Prior to the meeting, I plan to do a mix of using that table and kind of connecting the dots with the requests that we've already received, the amounts of money, and just to get a big picture view of where things look right now, given the parameters that we have to work with.
Perfect.
And I know that the select board sort of asked, I think it was it Peter or Joel, who was sort of, having us make our suggestions. And I don't know how we want to do that, given that the committee will meet. Are we talking in a select board meeting about that? I mean, just discussing in terms of sort of what we'd like to see and our suggestions, and then putting forth to the committee?
I'm expecting to have that the select board would have that on the agenda for the March 14th meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it needs to be, whatever we decide needs to be a group effort, not one person deciding and sending that up the pipe. So I think it definitely has to be discussed at a meeting before the select board sends their stuff forward. So be thinking about what your top 2 or 3 would be.
Yep.
Take
a look at the capital plan.
All right. All set with that?
I am.
Moving on. Review and approval of minutes. Which ones are we doing?
The January 3rd were emailed out earlier today. I'm 3/4 of the way through the January 27th.
We already approved the December 20th ones.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. Whew.
So those 3 prior to that?
Still in progress.
Okay. So we're January 3rd. Is that the one that's ready?
And I sent my comments. I don't know if anybody else had.
I have just some minor ones.
Mhm.
You probably caught them too, Michelle,
I had.
where it said increase in salt 0.70. Is that 73 cents or $73? Is the point on the wrong side?
That I didn't catch.
And then, and it said last year was 0.71. So it should, the two dots are on the wrong side.
Yeah, $71 a ton, now it's 73.
Yeah, and they got it on.
Yeah.
Great.
And then it just, because I figured that out, because it said sand went up 50 cents a yard, so I figured, well, they just put the dots in the wrong spot, that's all, Sharon.
Thank you, Joe.
All I had.
All right. I'd entertain a motion on January 3rd meeting minutes then.
And make a motion that we approve the January 3rd meeting with the minor changes that were given.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Authorize accounts payable, warrants, and liquor licenses. There is one liquor license, and the warrants are, Sharon?
57, that's the right one?
Yeah.
That's the right one. $57,111.
All right.
Is that the new one?
Yes.
That's excluding the ones you wanted taken out until you figure out
Great.
what's what.
Yep. Thank you.
Select Board Roundtable, Joel.
Just a couple of minor little things I just saw and I thought I brought it up before, but they didn't get changed, no big deal, but just, Ian, I know you do a lot of work and this is a good town report. Just make a note for next year. Articles 13 and 12. Let me get to them. Sorry. Let me get to them here. One says Fire Department Apparatus Reserve Fund, and then under 13, it says Capital Fire Vehicle Fund. We ought to call it one or the other. I just think that. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. And then Article 22, Bristol Little League also
Softball.
has softball there. The girls have softball and the boys have baseball, and that just says baseball here on Article 22. Can't be changed this year, no big deal. The sun is going to come up tomorrow, the next day, so just for another year.
I
What are you
did
laughing
add
about,
software.
Sharon?
You made that comment when we were sending it around, and I did add it to the page 11, which is the breakdown of the organizations. But I didn't add it to the article, so we'll make sure
No big deal.
that's
Just,
corrected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fresh in my mind. We'll do it this next year.
yeah, and I agree with calling things the same thing. I'm all for that, and thanks for catching that.
So if you change it in your template now, it'll be all done for next year.
Right.
Right.
And just the last thing, I was sitting with Patrick Green in Venusburg 3 weeks ago. Alex and I got on with you guys on the phone until executive session there got over. And we were talking about things we were doing here and they were doing over at the school. And I've let Valerie know, and I'll let the rest of the board know, the school wants to be a big part of that sidewalk to the high school,
The scoping study?
the scoping study.
Good.
They want to put in some of this jingle with it, help us with it. So, okay. Valerie knows that I briefed her.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have.
Michelle.
I'm good.
Darla.
Hello. Just a couple of things that I thought that might be of interest to select board members and the community. But as we look to continue to make decisions for the well-being of the town, the community health needs assessment is available. The 3 priority areas that came to the surface this year were access to healthcare services, access to mental health services, and housing. It's a very detailed report, and they now, that's put together through the hospital, through Porter. They did community, they got information from many communities. They held focus groups via Zoom throughout Addison County. There's some really great information in there, and I'll send a link to that so that if you're interested in reading the 54-page report, the data is in there. But the other report is the state of Vermont's children. It gives some great data as to what's happening with children in Vermont, prenatal to age 8, and what their what's trending for those kids. So there's a lot of great data in there. Not only does it give you a statewide picture, but it breaks it down by county. So there's excellent Addison County data. And I'll also offer that information up, the links to that publication as well. Just good things for us to know as we go forward. That's what I have.
Okay. You see what's in the chat there, Ian?
Sorry, let's take a look. Okay. All right, I'll
Okay.
make a note of that. Thank you, Brett.
All right, Ian, you're up.
Nothing major, just a couple meetings. We've got the second meeting for the bicycle pedestrian advisory group. That's happening this Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm also working with or attending a meeting tomorrow, which is an Efficiency Vermont walkthrough for some of our town buildings. The Energy Committee is organizing this, Richard Butts and Sally Burrell, and so I'll be joining sort of as a liaison just to sort of work on that. And this is sort of a beginning of a project just to sort of get a handle on what our buildings are using and what improvements can be made. And so the library is a part of that. And we also have on Wednesday, we have the Munsell Ave scoping study kickoff meeting as well. So I'll be attending that.
Are you, Brett?
Thanks, Val. And that's all for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I believe I am good. Town administrators report.
I don't have anything to add to my written report.
Okay. Other business correspondence? Item number 8. Don't all jump at once.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'll make a motion to adjourn. I didn't see it on my, okay.
I was waiting, caught them all off guard, Ian. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. See y'all next week.
Good night, everybody.